the law of equivalent exchange. The law of the world is basically ruled by. And this law is so long and so far that it reaches everywhere in the world. It even reaches videos like this. For example, in order to obtain something, something must be given up of equal or greater value. So, to get my impressions and my thoughts about the series Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, you have to waste the amount of time that this video is to get their full impressions. If you agree, let's begin. What's up guys, the Insane Game Freak here to bring you Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood full series review, the manga version review. And to explain the whole backstory for Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, for those who don't know, is that there's two series actually. There's FMA, Fullmetal Alchemist, and then there's Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. The reason why I'm reviewing Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is because Brotherhood is actually the series that is the animated version of the manga. Whereas Fullmetal Alchemist is more of mild canon in the beginning and then kind of goes off into its own shit by the end of it, because during the time the original FMA came out, it was coming out during the same time as the manga, and unfortunately it was catching up with the manga, so there was they had to change up the ending, so because the anime couldn't just take breaks. The anime wasn't good enough to get like an ass amount of breaks, considering it's only 50. I think the first series is what, 50 episodes or 52 episodes, I remember, and Brotherhood is 64 episodes. So they didn't really have, and they were catching up somewhere around like 26, 25. So it was like, we had to go ahead and finish it out. So they just went off with an alternate plot line, and while the writer was still writing their shit, and that's what FMA is. Now, surprisingly, FMA is probably one of those few filler-based ending series that actually had a good enough ending that people still liked it. And I think FMA has kind of a pretty good fan base all over the world, honestly. I would just say in Japan, but American fans redeem that show as one of the best shonens, or shonens going into a seinen, because that's what it is. It starts off as a shonen manga, it kind of ends up being a seinen by the end of it. And that's because this series is pretty fucking expansive for the world it's given in. To me, it took advantage of what everything it had, and it just ran with everything, and it came out like a fucking beautiful marksmanship worth of gold. There's also another reason why why FMA is really popular in America. For one, because it came out on Adult Swim, but it's also because of that, the voice actor that voices the main character of the series. The one that has that huge ass fan base because of how many series he's done, and how well he is in the majority of the shit he does. And fangirls just cream their pants when they see him. I can't think of his name. What is his name? Oh, this is gonna bother me. I don't know. I can't think of it. I don't know. He's probably not important anyway. It isn't like he voiced anyone from Dragon Ball Z or some shit. Fuck. So the story essentially revolves around two brothers, Ed and Alphonse Elric. And these brothers look kind of weird for multiple reasons, but to get into the main reasons, it's essentially the younger brother is in a giant suit of armor, and the older brother has a right arm and a left leg made of fucking metal. This goes into the background and goes into the whole plot of the series. The whole plot of the series is essentially these two kids had a mother and father. The father left when they were very fucking young, so it was just them and their mother. And their mother died of an illness, I believe, when they were around 7 and 8. Them not being able to handle that death and not being able to to grieve and just move the fuck on, they decided they're gonna bring their mother back. Now, in this world, there's this quote-unquote magic thing called alchemy, which goes by the law of equivalent exchange that I brought up in the beginning of the video. Equivalent exchange is essentially, in order to make something, you have to give up something that that equals that amount of what you're making. So in alchemy, it's following that law. Like, I'll take this example. You can turn a pile of dirt into a chair as long as there's enough dirt to make a chair out of. And it can't be, and you can only go by certain laws of physics. Alchemy itself defies a lot of laws of physics to begin with, but it has its limits. It has what it can and cannot do. You can't just turn water into gold if water doesn't amount into gold or have some type of property to it that allows it to be turned into gold. It's literally alchemy is like performing chemistry in your hands. And essentially, they're using this magic to revive the dead. Unfortunately, because they didn't know everything about reviving the dead with alchemy, and considering it's a taboo, they obviously fuck up because they're in their 70 and 8, and the price they pay is pretty heavy. Essentially, when you do human transmutation, the reason why it is forbidden is because it doesn't work, and because usually when you do it, you have to pay a price. And here's the thing. To bring your dead mother back, what you end up doing is you have to give up something equal to that human life. And what ends up happening is that the younger brother, Alphonse, loses his entire body, whereas Ed, the older brother, just loses his, I believe it's just his right leg. But in seeing that his brother's gone, he wants his brother's soul back at least. He has to give up his right arm. So that's why his arm's metal, and that's why his left leg is metal. Because he gave that up. And the reason why Alphonse in the suit of armor is essentially because they had to graft his soul into the suit of armor in order to keep his soul bounded to that world. Because everything else was gone. His body was completely gone. And the reason why, and to explain why his arm and legs are metal fully, is because one of his childhood friends, Renri, is an automail girl, and her grandmother does automail, which is essentially like robotic limbs in a sense, and grafted that shit onto its arm and leg, so he, wasn't going around with nubs and shit, hopping on one foot like this. That's so cold. So the main purpose of the story after all of this happens is that instead of trying to bring the brother back again, what their new goal is just to get the original bodies back. And let's just say this leads into a lot of shit revolving around them and the military and a lot of in the horrors of fucking transmutation and alchemy. And honestly, the horrors of humans, honestly, when it boils down to it. I mean, really, this series touches on so many things from what it was originally set up to touch. It's really just set up to touch on like a basic journey. The unfortunate thing is that the journey goes into this all-encompassing thing where they start out with their own missions in mind, and it ends up turning into them saving the fucking entire world because of what alchemy and human transportation and the Philosopher's Stone, which is the thing they heard, could do what they need to do to get their bodies back. Puts all that, those three things in itself, encompasses everything. Because it goes into the military, the corruption, the fucking things that you will find out later to be called homunculus and shit. It's really fucking crazy and it's really disturbing. And for a shonen, it delves way deeper than what you would expect it to. Also, to explain the name of Fullmetal Alchemist, essentially, he has to join the military to gain access to information and be able to do what he wants to do. Because he needs to research a lot of shit, and he can't do that normally. Becoming a state alchemist allows him, also he will be the quote-unquote dog of the military, but allows him to gain access to places and to do what he wants to do in order to achieve his goal. And let's just say he gets that name because of his armor, and also because he's the only alchemist that can... most alchemists have to draw a weird transmutation circle to do any alchemy. Ed can do it by just clapping his hands and hitting the ground. And the reason why is relating back to when you see that gate that you see when you perform human transmutation and you lose something important, you lose some type of portion of you for just performing the damn thing. You do gain something. You gain the ability to perform transmutation without a transmutation circle, which is yay for certain people. And also, just to throw this out here, and now the only people you're going to run into who have done it, you run into a few other characters, one of which is going to do it not by choice, and the other one is going to do it essentially because of the same reason Ed and Al did it, but it's going to involve a baby instead of their mother, essentially. It's honestly, it's one of those shows that you can't really explain in full detail without spoiling it. Like, you're probably wondering, well, are there side characters or are there other people that we should know of? There's a lot of motherfuckers you should know of. But explaining like a few of the side characters would fuck me over. Would fuck you over in terms of watching it. Because honestly, Fullmetal Alchemist is one of those shows that you really, really, really should watch with no spoilers. Like, even watching the first series and then watching this won't spoil the shit out of you. If you haven't read the manga and you want to get into the series, just watch Brotherhood. And just to throw out a lot of other things, the series revolves around, on top of everything else I mentioned, it also revolves around, I guess, the quote-unquote racism and the problems that spawn out of war. I'm not going to say too much, but let's just say this. Watch out for the Ishbalans. And let's just put it this way, you're going to wonder what the fuck I'm talking about at a certain point, but let's just say, watch out for the Ishbalans for multiple reasons. And I'm not going to say this is a good or bad thing, but let's just say, watch out for the Ishbalans. There's a lot of other side characters, as I mentioned. And to me, as I've said before, you can't really explain some of the side characters without going into backstories, because certain characters play bigger roles than they initially look out to be. For example, there's a king, well, a future king of the Qing Empire that you're gonna run into. At first, you just think he's gonna be a comedy character, and he turns out being like one of the fucking bigger players in the by the end of the series. Also, just to talk about production values and dubs for a second, dub fucking phenomenal. As I said before, this Fullmetal Alchemist is kind of revered as having one of the better, it's probably one of the best newer dubs that people have heard, period. Brotherhood was fucking amazing. And production values, it was consistently awesome through the entire series, but when you got to like the last 5 or 10 episodes, it jumped from like awesome quality to this fucking movie style production. Honestly, Blu-ray is kind of almost near being a must for this series. Mind you, I only watched the series on DVD. I didn't get the Blu-ray quality. I didn't get the 1080p. Even watching it on DVD quality, the shit looks amazing. And also, I'm gonna just say this one thing that you're only gonna get. There's a Falcon Punch at the end of the series. Jesus fucking Christ. And Falcon Punch for the motherfucking win. And the last thing I'm gonna say is that there is some romance in this series. So if you're a girl and you really like the romance in your series, you're gonna get it. It's not gonna be as ridiculous as, say, I don't know, Inuyasha, but you know, it's still pretty. It's in there enough. Considering it's 64 episodes, it's in there like maybe a third of the time for multiple reasons, depending on the characters you run into and which characters fall in love with each other. Also, just to get into that real quick, the ending romance that you'll end up seeing at the end of the series, the one I'm talking about, was kind of threw me off guard because I never thought that was gonna work, because I didn't realize the age difference in characters. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'll just say it revolves around a main character and a girl that I thought was literally supposed to just be like you know how Bone Hancock is in One Piece? I thought she was supposed to be like that for the character I'm referring to. But by the end of it, you actually get to see confirmation that those two really do. And it's kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie. But anyways, I think this review has gone on long enough. So, this has been my review of FMA Brotherhood, the complete series, the manga version, the definitive version. So, if you're going to check out the FMA series, I would suggest watching this. You can watch the other series. You can watch the original FMA. But you're not going to get the full enjoyment of the series. I would say you can watch that first and it won't really spoil anything. It kind of just goes over some of the shit in the beginning. Let's just say this. Everything canon in FMA it's over and done with by like episode 13 of Brotherhood. That's how little of the canon material is actually in FMA. The only difference is that in FMA it stretches it out through 20-something episodes, and if you watch that first, when you watch Brotherhood, those episodes are gonna come out, are gonna be like, damn, this is going really, really fucking fast. But honestly, if you want the full enjoyment without it feeling fast or any of that shit, watch Brotherhood. So that has been my review. Life's a game, play to win. Not everything you gain is worth having, and everything you lose is such a bad thing. Yeah, it's not the best catchphrase, but work with me. Anyways, see you later, guys. Peace off!